Day One stared at the flickering holographic display outside the auction hall and wondered if he'd made a mistake coming here. The advertisement had promised premium fleet liquidation and rare vessels from across the sector. But the station itself looked half dead. Lights blinked on and off in the corridors. The air recyclers hummed with a sick, grinding sound. Even the advertisements were glitching, repeating the same 3 words over and over. He checked his credit chip. 750 credits. Everything he had left after paying for the shuttle ride to this forgotten corner of space. It wasn't much, but it could buy him some salvage. Maybe enough parts to fix his hauler and get back to profitable runs. The auction hall doors slid open with a screech. Inside, the room was enormous and almost completely empty. Rows of seats stretched toward a raised platform where a holographic auctioneer stood frozen in mid-gesture. Only 2 other beings sat in the vast space. One was an insectoid merchant with 6 arms, tapping impatiently on a datapad. The other was a nervous-looking reptilian administrator clutching a folder to his chest. Day One chose a seat near the back. No point in looking too eager. The holographic auctioneer suddenly jerked to life. Its blue form solidified, but the edges kept flickering. Welcome, honored bidders, to the Delta 7 liquidation event. Today we offer 17 lots of exceptional quality. The insectoid merchant made a chittering sound that Day One's translator interpreted as laughter. Lot 1, the auctioneer continued. Thruster assembly, Mark 7 series. Starting bid 50 credits. The next hour crawled by. The insectoid merchant bought 3 lots of scrap metal. The reptilian administrator bought nothing, just kept clutching his folder and glancing at the exits. Day One bid on a cargo pod assembly but lost when the insectoid went higher than the parts were worth. Lot 847, the auctioneer announced. Its voice glitched on the numbers. Designation: Eternal Horizon. Classification: Military vessel, salvage grade. No specifications available, no inspection permitted. Sold as is, no refunds. The holographic display behind the auctioneer showed an image of a ship. Even through the static and distortion, Day One could see it was massive. The hull was dark, covered in markings he didn't recognize. The design was strange, not like anything he'd seen from the major species. Starting bid: 500 credits. Day One sat up straighter. 500 credits for a military vessel, even a wreck, was impossibly low. There had to be a catch. The insectoid merchant raised one arm. 500. Silence filled the hall. The auctioneer waited, its form flickering more rapidly, going once at 500 credits. Day One's mind raced. Why so cheap? Why no inspection? The ship looked intact in the image. Maybe it was contaminated. Maybe the engines were dead. Maybe it was a trap, going twice. 750 credits. That was all he had. If the ship was worthless, he'd be stuck on this dying station with no way home. Final call at 500. 700, Day One said. His voice echoed in the empty hall. The insectoid merchant turned all 6 eyes toward him. It chittered something, then waved a dismissive arm and stood up. The merchant's footsteps clicked across the floor as it left the hall. The auctioneer's head swiveled toward Day One. 700 credits from bidder 3. Going once. Going twice. Sold to bidder 3. For 700 credits. The reptilian administrator suddenly jumped from his seat and hurried out, still clutching his folder. The doors slammed behind him. Day One sat alone in the vast hall, his heart pounding. What had he just done? The auctioneer approached, floating down from the platform. Up close, its holographic form was even more degraded. Parts of its face were missing, replaced by static. Congratulations on your purchase. Please transfer payment now. Day One held up his credit chip. The auctioneer's hand passed through it, then the credits drained away. 750. Everything he had. He'd even paid the buyer's premium. Ownership transferred, the auctioneer said. It handed him a data chip that materialized in its flickering hand. Docking Bay Theta 12. Access codes included. The station authority thanks you for your business. The hologram vanished. The lights in the auction hall went dark. Emergency lighting clicked on, bathing everything in red. Day One sat in the crimson darkness, holding the data chip, and wondered what he'd just bought. Docking Bay Theta 12 was on the other side of the station. Day One took the malfunctioning transit pod, squeezed between cargo containers that smelled like decay. The station was dying. He could see it in every corridor. Panels missing from walls, coolant leaking from pipes, entire sections sealed off with warning tape. When the transit pod finally jerked to a stop, he stepped out into a docking bay that was larger than any he'd ever seen. It had been built for capital ships, back when this station was important, and there, in the center of the bay, sat the eternal horizon. The image hadn't done it justice. The ship was easily a kilometer long, maybe more. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, and covered in symbols and markings he couldn't read. The design was sleek but aggressive, with angles that seemed wrong somehow. Not alien exactly, but not quite right either. No lights shone from its viewports. No engine glow. No power signature on his scanner. The ship was completely dark. Day One walked slowly across the bay floor. His footsteps echoed in the massive space. Up close, he could see the hull was in remarkably good condition. No major damage. No scoring from weapons fire. Just age. Lots and lots of age. The metal had a dullness that spoke of centuries drifting in space. He checked his datapad. The access codes from the auction loaded cleanly. The airlock was near the bow. A large circular door that looked heavy enough to withstand a bomb. Day One pressed his hand to the access panel. Nothing happened. He tried the codes manually. Still nothing. The ship was completely without power. He unhooked the portable cutter from his belt. It would take a few minutes to force the airlock open. He started the cutting process, watching the bright beam slice through the seal. While he waited, he ran a deep scan on the ship. The results made him frown. Hull integrity, 97%. That was impossible for a derelict. Main reactor, cold, but intact. Computer core, offline but undamaged. It was like the ship had simply been turned off and forgotten. The cutter finished. The airlock hissed and began to cycle open. Emergency lighting flickered to life inside, casting a pale blue glow into the corridor beyond. Day One stepped through the airlock and into the ship. The air was stale but breathable. The corridor stretched ahead, lined with doors and panels. Everything was sized for humans. The proportions felt almost right, but not quite. Like someone had built a ship for people slightly taller, slightly different. He walked deeper into the ship. His footsteps made soft sounds on the deck. The emergency lighting followed him, panels lighting up as he passed and dimming behind him. The ship was waking up, sensing his presence. Day One pulled out his scanner and checked for life signs. Probably nothing. The ship had been listed as salvage grade. No crew. No. The scanner beeped. Then beeped again. Day One stared at the display. His hands started shaking. Life signs. Faint, barely registering, but definitely there. Something was alive on this ship, and according to the scanner, it was human. Day One followed the life signs deeper into the ship. The emergency lighting continued to track his movement, creating a bubble of pale blue light around him. Behind him, the corridors fell back into darkness. The ship felt like a sleeping giant, barely aware of his presence. The scanner led him down 3 levels and through a maze of passages. The ship's layout made no sense. Some corridors were wide enough to drive a vehicle through. Others were narrow and cramped. Doors were labeled in a writing system he couldn't read, though something about the characters felt familiar. After 20 minutes of walking, he reached a large door, marked with a symbol that his translator finally recognized. Medical Bay. The door was sealed. Day One tried the access panel, but like the airlock, it had no power. He used his cutter again, watching sparks fly as the beam sliced through ancient metal. The door fell inward with a crash that echoed through the empty ship. Inside, the medical bay was enormous. Rows of equipment lined the walls, all dark and silent. But at the far end of the room, a dozen cylindrical pods stood in two neat rows. Cryopods, and one of them was lit. Day One ran toward it. The life signs were coming from that pod. As he got closer, he could see that 11 of the pods were shattered from the inside, their glass fronts broken outward. Emergency foam had sealed the openings centuries ago, but the 12th pod was intact, its systems running on some kind of backup power. Inside the pod, a woman floated in pale blue fluid. She was young, maybe 25 years old. Black hair drifted around her face. She wore a gray uniform with patches and insignia he didn't recognize. Her eyes were closed. The pod's display showed vital signs weak, but steady. Day One checked the pod's status. His blood went cold. The backup power was failing. The display showed critical warnings flashing in red. The pod had maybe 5 minutes of power left. When it failed, so would life support. He had to make a decision, right now. He didn't know who this woman was. Didn't know if she was dangerous. Didn't know if the cryo fluid had damaged her mind or body. Didn't know anything except that she was human, and she was dying. Day One hit the emergency revival button. The pod began to cycle. The fluid drained rapidly, flowing into reservoirs beneath the floor. Warm air pumped into the chamber. The woman's body began to convulse as the cryo drugs left her system. Warning lights flashed across the display. Then the pod door hissed open. The woman fell forward. Day One caught her, nearly falling himself under her weight. She was cold as ice, her skin pale. She gasped, drawing in air like she was drowning. Her eyes snapped open. They were dark brown and filled with terror. She screamed and shoved Day One backward. He crashed into a medical table. The woman stumbled, fell to her knees, gasped again. She looked around wildly, eyes darting to the shattered pods, the dark medical bay. Day One on the floor. "Where?" she said in a language Day One almost understood. Korean. Very old Korean. His translator struggled to process it. "Where are the others? Where's Captain Minho?" "Where?" She saw the broken pods again. Her face went white. She crawled toward the nearest one, running her hands over the shattered glass. "No. No, no, no." Day One slowly got to his feet. "I'm sorry," he said. His translator converted his words into something she might understand. "I just found the ship. You were the only one left alive." She spun toward him. "What year is it? How long has it been?" Day One checked his datapad. "It's the year 3891. Standard galactic calendar." The woman stared at him. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Finally, she whispered, "That's impossible. We left in 2287. That would mean..." Her voice broke. 1600 years? "What's your name?" Day One asked gently. "Hana," she said. Her hands were shaking. "Junior Engineer Hana. We were the Eternal Horizon. Colony ship. First wave." She looked up at him with lost eyes. "Has anyone heard from New Seoul?" Day One shook his head slowly. "I don't know what that is." Hana made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. She stood on shaky legs and walked to one of the broken pods. She pressed her hand against it. "Captain Minho. Navigator Junho. Dr. Yuna. We were 12. Just 12. The only ones left after..." She stopped. "What happened to Earth?" "Earth?" Day One said. "Earth still exists. Humans are all over the galaxy now. We've been in space for more than 1,000 years. First contact," Hana whispered. "Did we make first contact?" "Did the plan work?" "First contact happened a long time ago," Day One said. "Humans met the Galactic Council in the 28th century. We've been part of the galactic community ever since." Hana closed her eyes. A tear ran down her cheek. "So we did it. Humanity made it to the stars." She opened her eyes and looked at Day One. "Then why don't you know about the first wave? Why doesn't anyone know about New Seoul?" Day One had no answer. Hana walked unsteadily around the medical bay. She touched equipment, ran her hands over consoles. We need to check the main computer. The logs. Something happened. Something bad. I remember alarms, people screaming. The captain ordered us to the cryopods. She looked at the shattered pods again. We were supposed to wake up together. Can you walk? Day one asked. Hana tested her legs. She was weak, but the cryo sickness was fading fast. Yes. The bridge. We need to get to the bridge. They left the medical bay together. Hana led the way through the dark corridors with the certainty of someone who knew every inch of the ship. She didn't need the emergency lighting. Her hands found panels and handholds in the dark. This was my home, she said quietly. For 3 years, we traveled through space. 1,600 people at first. Families, children. We were going to build a new world. Her voice hardened. Then the sickness came. Then the attacks. Then, she stopped walking. What happened? Day one asked. I don't remember, Hana said, but her voice suggested she remembered more than she wanted to. The bridge was 5 levels up. The door was sealed, but Hana knew an emergency access code. She punched it into a manual panel, and the door groaned open. Inside, the bridge was a disaster. Consoles were smashed. Chairs overturned. Scorch marks covered the walls. Someone had fought here. Someone had lost. Hana walked slowly to the captain's chair. It was empty, but dried blood stained the armrest. She touched it with shaking fingers. Day one moved to the main computer. He connected his datapad and started pulling up whatever logs remained. Most were corrupted. The ship's computer had been damaged badly. But fragments remained. He found a video log. Captain Minho's face appeared on the screen. The man looked exhausted and terrified. Behind him, the bridge was intact, but emergency lights were flashing. This is Captain Minho. Final log of the Eternal Horizon. We are 3 months from New Sol. The cargo is secure. The decision has been made. He paused. We cannot allow them to find it. What we carry is too valuable. Too dangerous. If we fail, if we're captured, humanity loses everything. He looked directly into the camera. If anyone finds this ship, the cargo must reach human hands. Only human hands. Tell them the first wave succeeded. Tell them we made it. Even if we didn't survive to see it. The log ended. Hana was crying silently. Day one pulled up the cargo manifest. His eyes widened. What was in the cargo bay? Everything, Hana whispered. Seeds from Earth. Genetic samples. Technology. History. Everything humanity needed to start over. She looked at him. We were the backup plan. If Earth fell, if first contact went wrong, if something destroyed humanity, we were the seed that would grow again. Day one was about to respond when his datapad screamed an alarm. He looked at the screen and his heart stopped. 3 warships had just dropped out of hyperspace. They were surrounding the station, and they were broadcasting a message on all frequencies. Attention, unidentified vessel. You are in possession of the Eternal Horizon. This ship and its cargo are claimed by the Vrexian Dominion. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Hana looked at Day one. Who are the Vrexians? Bad news, Day one said. Very bad news. Outside the ship, he could see weapons powering up. They had maybe 2 minutes before the Vrexians opened fire. Hana ran to the helm console and pressed her hand against it. The console flickered to life, glowing with pale blue light. Biometric authorization accepted. A mechanical voice said, Welcome back, Junior Engineer Hana. Warning, ship power at 3%. Main reactor offline for 1,604 years. Can we fly? Day one asked urgently. Through the viewport, he could see the Vrexian ships moving into attack positions. Maybe, Hana said. Her fingers flew across the controls with practiced ease. The emergency systems are still online. If I can route power from the backup cells to the engines. She pulled up a power distribution screen. We'll have 1 jump. That's it. After that, we're dead in space. 1 jump is better than exploding right here, Day one said. The Vrexian broadcast came again, louder this time. Final warning. Surrender the Eternal Horizon or face destruction. You have 60 seconds to comply. Hana pulled up the navigation screen. Where do we go? I don't know any of these star systems. Everything's changed, Daewon thought fast. They needed help. They needed weapons. They needed someone who could stand up to the Vrexians. He knew one person who fit that description, even if she hated him. I know someone, he said. My sister. She's a captain in the Human Defense Coalition. If we can reach her fleet, we might have a chance. Coordinates, Hana demanded. Daewon pulled up his datapad and transferred the location to the navigation system. Sector 97, the Tegu system. She's on patrol there. That's 12 jumps away in a normal ship, Hana said, studying the display. But the Eternal Horizon wasn't a normal ship. Her hands moved across the controls. Experimental drive system. We were testing long-range jump technology. Theoretical maximum, 15 light-years per jump. Theoretical? Daewon said nervously. It worked 3 times before we shut down the ship, Hana said. That's good enough for me. 30 seconds, the Vrexian voice announced. Hana's fingers stabbed at the engine controls. Deep in the ship, something groaned to life. The deck vibrated. Emergency power flowed through systems that hadn't been active for 16 centuries. Come on, Hana whispered. Come on, old girl. One more time. The engines powered up. The viewport lit up with blue light as the drive system charged. Daewon could see the Vrexian ships react, their weapons glowing brighter. 10 seconds. Charge at 80%, Hana said. It'll have to be enough. She looked at Daewon. Hold on to something. This is going to be rough. 5 seconds. Hana slammed her hand down on the jump control. The universe twisted. Daewon felt like his body was being pulled in every direction at once. Colors that shouldn't exist flashed through the viewport. The sound of tearing metal filled his ears. Then everything snapped back to normal with a violent jolt that threw him against the console. Stars. They were surrounded by new stars. Jump successful, the ship's computer announced. Distance traveled, 14.3 light-years. Emergency power depleted. Main systems shutting down. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The engine sound died away. They were drifting. Hana pulled up the navigation display with the last of the power. Where are we? Daewon checked his datapad. Sector 97. We made it. He activated his personal communicator and set it to emergency broadcast. This is civilian vessel requesting immediate assistance. We are dead in space and pursued by hostile forces. Any Defense Coalition ships in range, please respond. They waited in the darkness. Seconds stretched into minutes. Then, a voice crackled through the communicator. A woman's voice, sharp and professional. This is HDC Steadfast Wind. We copy your distress call. Transmit your identification and situation. Daewon took a breath. This is Daewon. I need to speak with Captain G1. Silence on the other end. Then, stand by. Another minute passed. Then the voice returned. Colder now. This is Captain G1. Daewon. You better have a good reason for using an emergency channel to contact me. I do, Daewon said. I need your help. I've got something important. Something the Vrexians want badly enough to kill for. More silence. The Vrexians? You're not making sense. Where are you? In orbit around the 4th planet. We're in a ship called the Eternal Horizon. We can't move. We need immediate assistance. I'm looking at the scan data now, G1 said. Her voice changed, became more alert. That ship is huge. Where did you get it? Bought it at an auction, Daewon said. It's a long story. It always is with you. G1 sighed. We're moving to intercept. ETA 12 minutes. Do not, and I mean do not, do anything stupid before we get there. The communicator went silent. Hana looked at Daewon. Your sister sounds nice. She hates me, Daewon said. I left home 5 years ago. We haven't spoken since. Why did you leave? Day-One shrugged. Family disagreement. She wanted to serve in the military. Follow in our father's footsteps. I wanted to explore. Find my own path. We said things we shouldn't have said. He stared out at the stars. I was supposed to come back. Never did. Now's your chance, Hana said. While they waited, Hana took Day-One deeper into the ship. With the emergency power gone, they used portable lights to navigate. Hana led him down to the cargo bays. The cargo bay doors were massive and sealed with locks that looked like they could withstand a nuclear blast. Hana placed her hand on a scanner panel. Nothing happened. The locks needed power. What's in there? Day-One asked. Our future, Hana said. Or at least, what was supposed to be our future. She closed her eyes. Thousands of seed samples from Earth. Every plant we could save. Genetic material for animals. Fish. Insects. Everything an ecosystem needs. Medical databases. Technical schematics. Cultural archives. Books. Music. Art. Everything that made us human. That's what the Vrexians want? Day-One said. Maybe, Hana said. Or maybe they want what's in the secure vault. What's in the secure vault? Hana opened her eyes. Project Genesis. The terraforming platform. The original AI matrix that every human AI system was based on. Complete instructions for turning a dead world into an Earth-like planet. She looked at Day-One. We were going to terraform New Sol. Make it green. Give humanity a second home that didn't depend on alien technology or alien permission. Day-One understood now. In the modern galaxy, terraforming required licenses from the Galactic Council. The technology was controlled by a handful of elder species. Humans had to ask permission and pay massive fees to terraform worlds. But if this ship contained independent human terraforming technology that predated first contact, this changes everything, he said. Yes. Hana agreed. That's why Captain Minho hid the ship. If the wrong people found it, they could use it as a weapon. Or sell it. Or destroy it. To keep humanity dependent. They heard a sound echoing through the ship. Metal against metal. The external docking clamps engaging. Your sister's here, Hana said. They made their way back to the airlock. Through the small viewport, Day-One could see a smaller ship attached to the eternal horizon. The HDC Steadfast Wind was a destroyer, sleek and bristling with weapons. Much more modern than the ancient colony ship. The airlock cycled open. A woman stepped through, flanked by 4 Marines in combat armor. She was in her 30s, tall and lean, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her uniform was crisp and perfect. Her eyes were hard. She looked exactly like their mother. Hello, G1, Day-One said. Hello, little brother, G1 said coldly. Her eyes moved past him to Hana. Who's this? Junior Engineer Hana, Hana said, standing straight despite her weakness. Former crew of the Eternal Horizon. Former crew? G1's eyes narrowed. This ship has been derelict for centuries according to our scans. 1600 years, Hana said. I was in cryosleep. G1 stared at her. Then, at Day-One. You found a first-wave colony ship? You know about the first wave? Day-One asked, surprised. Every military officer studies the first wave, G1 said. 12 colony ships launched before first contact. None of them ever reached their destinations. Most were presumed lost or destroyed. But the technology they carried... She stopped. You need to show me everything, right now. The Vrexians are looking for this ship, Day-One said. They attacked us at the station. I know, G1 said grimly. We picked up their jump signatures. They're tracking you. They'll be here within the hour. She looked at Hana. Can you access the cargo bay? With power, yes, Hana said. Then let's move, G1 ordered. Marines, establish a perimeter. I want this ship secured. They powered up the cargo bay using generators from the Steadfast Wind. The massive locks disengaged with a series of heavy clunks. The doors opened slowly, revealing a cavernous space filled with sealed containers. G1 walked between the rows, her datapad scanning each container. Her face grew more amazed with each reading. This is impossible. These are original samples. Pre-contact technology. This is... She turned to Hana. Do you understand what this means? Yes, Hana said quietly. Where's the Genesis vault? Hana led them to the back of the cargo bay. A smaller door was set into the wall, marked with warning symbols. It requires both command and engineering authorization to open. Captain Minho had command codes. I have engineering. But the captain is dead, G1 said. Yes, Hana said. G1's communicator beeped urgently. She answered it. Her face went pale. How many? A voice responded. 7 ships. Captain. Vrexian Battle Group. They just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we surrender the Eternal Horizon. G1 looked at her brother, then at Hana. We need to decide right now. Fight, run, or surrender. We can't let them have it, Hana said. Captain Minho died to keep this ship out of enemy hands. My ship can't fight 7 Vrexian warships, G1 said. Then we run, Day 1 suggested. The Eternal Horizon can't jump, Hana said. No power. They were trapped. No time to repair the ship. No way to fight. No way to escape. Outside, the Vrexian ships were closing in. G1's Marines set up defensive positions throughout the Eternal Horizon, while the Vrexian fleet surrounded them. Day 1 watched through the bridge viewport as the 7 warships took up positions, their weapons trained on the ancient colony ship. They're not attacking, Hana observed. Why not? They want the ship intact, G1 said. She stood at the tactical console, studying the enemy formation. Vrexians are treasure hunters. Archaeological raiders. They've been searching for first-wave ships for decades. She glanced at Hana. They must have been tracking you somehow. The auction, Day 1 realized. The station was a trap. They put the ship up for sale to see who would buy it. Then they followed us. Smart, G1 admitted. They let us find it. Let us verify what it is. Then move in to take it. She turned to her first officer. Status on reinforcements? Crom. Nearest Defense Coalition fleet is 6 hours away, the officer reported. We're on our own. A new voice crackled through the communication system. It was deep and rough, translated from some alien language. Human vessels. I am Warlord Tavar, of the Vrexian Dominion. You have something that belongs to us. G1 activated the transmitter. This ship belongs to humanity. You have no legal claim to it, Tavar laughed. The sound was unpleasant. Legal claim? This ship has been adrift for centuries. It's salvage. We found it first. Someone bought it at a legal auction, G1 said. That makes it private property. Thank you for watching. Then we'll buy it from you, Tavar said. Name your price. Any amount. Vrexian gold? Galactic credits? Trade agreements? Whatever you want. Day 1 stepped forward. Why do you want it so badly? Silence. Then, who is this? The person who bought the ship, Day 1 said. I'm curious. What's worth sending 7 warships for? The cargo, Tavar said simply. We know what the first wave ships carried. Technology from before first contact. Human ingenuity unfiltered by galactic oversight. Pure innovation. His voice took on a greedy edge. And we know about Project Genesis, a terraforming platform that doesn't require council approval. Do you understand what that's worth? Entire species would pay fortunes for that technology. So you want to sell it? Hana said quietly. Everything my people died for. Everything we tried to preserve. You want to sell it to the highest bidder. Business is business, Tavar said. Last chance. Surrender the ship and we'll let you go. Refuse, and we'll take it by force. We'd prefer not to damage it, but we will if necessary. G1 cut the transmission. She turned to Hana. Is there any way to power up the ship's weapons? No, Hana said. We'd need the main reactor online. That takes hours we don't have. Then we evacuate, G1 decided. We take what data we can carry and destroy the rest. The Vrexians can have a hull full of melted computers. No, Hana said sharply. Everyone looked at her. Captain Minho didn't hide this ship just to have it destroyed by its own people. This is humanity's legacy. Our proof that we were exploring, building, dreaming before aliens ever found us. It's also a target, G1 said. A very big target that's about to get us all killed. Day1 looked between his sister and Hana. An idea was forming. A crazy, dangerous idea. What? G1 said. Not really, Day1 explained. We let them board the ship. Lead them right to the cargo bay. But we also wake up something they're not expecting. Hana's eyes widened. Bay 7. What's Bay 7? G1 demanded. Hana and Day1 had been exploring the ship while waiting for G1 to arrive. They'd found something in the lower levels. Something the ship's damaged computer had warned them about. Hana pulled up the data on her portable screen. During the voyage, we encountered a derelict alien ship, Hana explained. We brought aboard samples for study. They contained organisms, xenomorphs. They attacked us, killed dozens before we contained them in Bay 7, and vented the atmosphere. G1 stared. You want to unleash alien monsters on the Vrexians? They're not monsters, Hana said. They're animals. Very dangerous animals that have been dormant for 1600 years. But the ship is warming up now. They'll wake up soon. And you want to lead Vrexian boarding parties into their territory? G1 said slowly. A smile crept across her face. That's either brilliant or insane. Both. Day1 said. While the Vrexians are fighting those things, we extract the Genesis data core. Transfer it to your ship. Then we blow the eternal horizon. And everything on it. Hana flinched. Destroy the ship? To save what matters most, Day1 said gently. The data. The knowledge. That's what's important. The ship is just metal. Hana looked at the bridge around her. At the captain's chair, where Minho had died. At the consoles she'd worked at for 3 years. At the home that had carried her across the stars. Just metal, she whispered. Then, stronger. Okay. We do it. G1 opened communications with Tavar. We've discussed your offer. We're willing to negotiate. Send boarding parties to the main airlock. We'll discuss terms. Wise choice, Tavar said. We're launching boarding craft now. G1 muted the transmission and turned to her Marines. Listen carefully. This is going to get messy. Here's the plan. 10 minutes later, 12 Vrexian boarding craft attached to the Eternal Horizon's hull. The aliens came through the airlocks in heavy armor, carrying plasma weapons. They were large reptilian creatures with rough green scales and cold yellow eyes. Day1 met them in the main corridor with his hands raised. Welcome aboard. I'm the owner. Follow me to the cargo bay. The lead Vrexian studied him suspiciously. Where are the military personnel? Gone, Day1 lied. They took their ship and left. Decided it wasn't worth fighting for. He shrugged. I'm just trying to make the best deal I can. The Vrexians seemed to believe him. Smart. Lead the way. Day1 led them through the ship, taking the longest route possible. He walked slowly, asking questions about payment terms and delivery schedules. The Vrexians followed, their weapons ready but not aimed at him. They thought they'd won. Meanwhile, in Bay 7, Hana was opening the sealed doors. The bay was dark and cold. Frost covered every surface. In the center, attached to the walls and ceiling, were dozens of cocoon-like structures. They pulsed slowly, like they were breathing. They're waking up, one of G1's Marines whispered. Good, G1 said. She stood at the bay entrance with 4 Marines. Fall back. Seal this section, but leave the path to the cargo bay open. They withdrew carefully. Behind them, the cocoons began to crack. Day 1 led the Vrexian boarding party down toward the cargo bays. He was running out of time and small talk. They were getting suspicious. "The cargo bay is just ahead," he said, pointing down a corridor. "You first," the lead Vrexian ordered. Day 1 walked forward. Behind him, he heard the Vrexians spread out, weapons raised. They entered the corridor in formation, professional and careful. Then something moved in the darkness ahead. It was fast, much faster than something that size should move. A creature the size of a human but built wrong, all sharp angles and too many limbs. Its skin was black and shiny, covered in some kind of organic armor. It had no eyes, just a head that opened into rows of metallic teeth. The creature screamed. The sound echoed through the corridor like tearing metal. The Vrexians opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness, striking the creature. It jerked and twisted but didn't stop. More creatures poured out of the darkness behind it. "Fall back," the Vrexian leader roared. Day 1 ran. He didn't look back. He could hear the sounds of fighting behind him. Weapons fire, screaming, the clicking hiss of the creatures. He ran through pre-planned corridors, through doors that sealed behind him, toward the bridge where Hana and G1 were waiting. "It's working," Hana said, watching the security monitors. "The creatures are attacking anything that moves. The Vrexians are contained in sections 3 through 5. "How many Vrexians?" G1 asked. "About 40 made it aboard before we sealed the airlocks," a Marine reported. "They're fighting hard, but the creatures have the numbers." "And the Genesis Vault?" G1 asked. "I'm working on it," Hana said. She was at the engineering console, hands flying across the controls. "Without Captain's authorization, I need to manually override each lock. It's going to take time." "We don't have time," Day 1 said. "Tavar's going to realize what's happening. He'll start shooting at the ship." As if summoned by his words, the ship shuddered. Warning alarms blared. The Vrexian fleet had opened fire. "They're targeting our engines," G1 said, reading the tactical display. "They still want the ship intact." "That won't last long," Day 1 said. "Once Tavar loses enough soldiers, he'll get angry." Another impact. Sparks flew from a console. The emergency lighting flickered. "Got it!" Hana shouted. The vault door opened with a hiss. Inside was a small chamber containing a single crystal cylinder. The Genesis data core, humanity's terraforming knowledge, compressed into a device the size of Day 1's forearm. Hana grabbed it carefully and ran to G1. "Get this to your ship. Protect it with everything you have." G1 took the cylinder. She looked at Hana. "What about you?" "I'm staying," Hana said quietly. "Someone needs to set the self-destruct. Make sure the creatures don't escape. Make sure the Vrexians don't get anything." "Hana, no," Day 1 started. "This is my ship," Hana said. "My responsibility. Captain Minho trusted me to protect it. This is how I do that." She smiled sadly. "Besides, everyone I knew is gone. Everyone I loved. 1,600 years gone. Maybe it's better this way." "There's a whole future out there," Day 1 said. "A future your people helped build. Don't you want to see it?" Hana looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to the self-destruct console. "Get to the steadfast wind. You have 2 minutes." The ship shook again. More impacts. The Vrexians were getting desperate. G1 grabbed Day 1's arm. "We need to go. Now." "I'm not leaving her," Day 1 shouted. "She made her choice," G1 yelled back. "And we're about to die if we don't move." Marines pulled Day 1 backward. He fought them, but there were too many. They dragged him to the airlock, through the connecting tunnel, onto the steadfast wind. He watched through the viewport as they detached from the eternal horizon. On the colony ship's bridge, Hana stood alone. She activated the self-destruct sequence. 10 minutes. The computer counted down. She sat in the captain's chair and closed her eyes. "I made it, Captain Minho. We made it. Tell them. Tell them New Soul happened." The blast doors sealed. She was trapped inside. Day 1 pressed his hands against the viewport. "No." G1 stood beside him. "I'm sorry." The steadfast wind's engines fired. They pulled away from the eternal horizon, just as the timer reached 0. The colony ship exploded in a flash of light that outshone the stars. The explosion of the eternal horizon lit up the sector like a small sun. When the light faded, only debris remained. The Vrexian fleet held position for several minutes, scanning the wreckage. Then, without a word, they jumped away into hyperspace. Daewon stood at the viewport of the steadfast wind and stared at the empty space where the colony ship had been. His reflection looked back at him. He barely recognized himself. Ji-won appeared beside him. She held out a cup of coffee. "Drink this." He took it but didn't drink. She didn't have to die. No, Ji-won agreed, but she chose to. That means something. Does it? Ji-won was quiet for a moment. When I joined the military, our father told me something. He said that every generation fights to protect the next. Sometimes, that fight is with weapons. Sometimes it's with sacrifice. Hana fought her fight. She paused. Now it's our turn. Daewon finally looked at his sister. Really looked at her. She was older, harder than he remembered. But her eyes were the same. "I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I let you leave," Ji-won said. "We both said things we shouldn't have. Can we?" "Later," Ji-won said. "Right now, we have work to do." She gestured toward the bridge. "Come on." The Genesis data core sat on a secure table in the ship's laboratory. 3 scientists were carefully analyzing it, pulling up files, running tests. As Daewon and Ji-won entered, one of the scientists looked up with an expression of wonder. "Captain, this is incredible. The data is complete. Terraforming protocols, AI architecture, genetic databases, everything the first wave was carrying." The scientist pulled up a holographic display. "But there's more. Personal logs, thousands of them. Messages from the colonists to future generations. Can you play one?" Daewon asked. The scientist selected a file at random. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a middle-aged woman in a gray uniform, standing in what looked like a small quarters. Behind her, a young boy played with a toy. "My name is Dr. Yuna," the woman said. "I'm the chief medical officer of the Eternal Horizon. We're 3 weeks into our journey to New Seoul. I wanted to record this for whoever finds it someday." She smiled. "If you're watching this, it means humanity survived. It means we made it to the stars. That's good. That's what we hoped for." The boy ran up and hugged her. She ruffled his hair. "This is my son, Junho. He's 7. By the time you see this, he'll be all grown up. Maybe he'll have children of his own on New Seoul." Her smile faded slightly. "Or maybe something will have gone wrong. Space is dangerous. We know that. But we're not afraid. We're humanity. We explore. We build. We dream." She looked directly at the camera. "If you're watching this, and you're human, remember, you came from people who were brave enough to leave Earth behind. Brave enough to fly into the unknown. Brave enough to trust that future generations would be worth the sacrifice. Don't forget that. Don't forget us." The recording ended. The laboratory was silent. The scientist wiped his eyes. There are thousands more like that. Families. Scientists. Engineers. All of them recording messages for a future they weren't sure they'd see. "We need to share these," Daewon said. "Everyone needs to hear them." "Not everyone will want to," Ji-won warned. "The Genesis data is going to cause problems. Political problems. Some humans won't want to rock the boat with the Galactic Council. Some aliens will see this as a threat to their control of terraforming technology." "I don't care," Daewon said. "These people died to preserve this. We're not hiding it." Ji-won studied her brother for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Agreed. But we do it smart. We copy the data. Distribute it widely before anyone can stop us. Make sure it can't be suppressed or controlled." Over the next 3 days, the steadfast wind traveled to a human colony called Unity Station. Ji-won had contacts there. People she trusted. They made copies of the Genesis data. Lots of copies. They sent encrypted files to universities, to military archives, to public databases across human space. By the time the Galactic Council realized what had happened, it was too late. The information was everywhere. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Some human governments celebrated. They saw the Genesis data as proof of humanity's independent achievement. Evidence that humans didn't need alien oversight to accomplish great things. Other governments were angry. They'd built relationships with the Galactic Council, based on cooperation and dependence. This data threatened those relationships. The Council itself was divided. Some alien species were impressed by human ingenuity. Others felt threatened by the idea of humans with independent terraforming capability. The Vrexians filed official complaints. They claimed the Eternal Horizon had been rightfully salvaged. They demanded compensation. Nobody paid them. In the middle of the chaos, someone proposed a memorial. It started as a small thing, a monument on Unity Station honoring the crew of the Eternal Horizon. But it grew. Other first-wave ships were mentioned. The 12 colony ships that had launched before first contact. The thousands of people who'd left Earth, knowing they might never see their destination. Day 1 attended the dedication ceremony. So did G1. Hundreds of people gathered to hear speakers talk about the first wave, about courage and sacrifice, about humanity's journey to the stars. At the end of the ceremony, they unveiled a wall with 12,000 names. Every person who'd been on the first wave ships. Most of the names had been recovered from the Genesis data. Some were still unknown. Day 1 found Hana's name on the wall. Junior Engineer Hana. Born 2,261. Died 3,891. Saved humanity's legacy. He placed his hand on her name. "We told them," he whispered. "We told them new soul happened. We told them you made it." A woman's voice spoke behind him. "That's a nice sentiment, but you're wrong about one thing." Day 1 spun around. His heart stopped. Hana stood there, alive, wearing a clean uniform. She looked tired and had a healing scar across her forehead, but she was unmistakably alive. "You're dead," Day 1 said stupidly. "The ship exploded. I watched it." "True. I watched it." "You watched the bridge explode," Hana corrected. "I wasn't on the bridge." She smiled slightly. "After you left, I had time to think. About what you said. About seeing the future. About not wanting to die with the past." She shrugged. "So I ran. Set the self-destruct and ran as fast as I could to the emergency escape pods. Barely made it. Your sister's Marines picked me up drifting in the debris," Hana continued. "I've been in the medical bay for 3 days. G1 said I should wait to surprise you." She looked at the memorial wall. G1 saddened. G1 saddened a well, although I'm not sure I like having my death date carved in stone. Day 1 couldn't speak. He just stared at her. "Are you going to say something?" Hana asked. "Or just keep looking at me like I'm a ghost?" Day 1 laughed. He couldn't help it. The stress and grief of the past week came out in a laugh that turned into something between crying and laughing. "You're alive." "Yes," Hana said patiently. "You're really alive. We've established this." Day 1 pulled her into a hug. She stiffened for a second, then hugged him back. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not dying." "You're welcome," Hana said. He let her go. She smiled at him. "Now," Day 1 said. He thought about it. "Now, we find the other ships." Hana blinked. "What other ships?" Day 1 pulled out a data chip. "I found this in your personal effects. Coordinates. 11 sets of coordinates." "Coordinates." Hana took the chip. Her eyes widened as she looked at the data. The other first-wave ships. I'd forgotten we had a network. If one ship failed, the others would continue. We hid the locations from each other in case we were captured. She looked up at Day 1. "You want to find them all? Why not?" Day-One said. It's what they would have wanted. Besides, I bought a ship at an auction, and look how that turned out. Maybe I'm lucky. You're insane, Hana said. Probably, Day-One agreed. G1 walked up to them. I'm putting in for a deep space exploration assignment. Officially, I'll be conducting long-range surveys. Unofficially, I'll be making sure nobody bothers you while you search for the rest of the first wave. You don't have to do that, Day-One said. I know, G1 said. But family looks out for family. Even when they're being stupid. She smiled. It was the first genuine smile Day-One had seen from her in 5 years. Besides, someone needs to keep you out of trouble. 6 months later, a small exploration ship called the New Horizon jumped into an uncharted system. Day-One sat in the captain's chair. Hana worked at the navigation console. Through the viewport, they could see a derelict ship drifting near a dead moon. Is that it? Day-One asked. Hana checked the readings. Hull configuration matches. Size matches. It's the Morning Star. Second, first wave ship. In orbit above them, the HDC Steadfast Wind held position. G1's voice came through the communicator. We've got you covered. Take your time. Day-One and Hana looked at each other. Ready? He asked. No, Hana said honestly. But let's do it anyway. The New Horizon moved toward the derelict ship. Behind them, the Steadfast Wind followed. And somewhere in the ship's database, a message was being composed. A message that would be broadcast across all of human space when they returned. First wave vessel Morning Star located. Crew status unknown. Recovery operation beginning. This is the promise. We will find them all. We will bring them home. We will remember their names. Humanity had gone to the stars alone, before anyone knew they existed. They'd built ships and dreamed of new worlds, and taken risks that seemed insane to every other species in the galaxy. Some of those ships had failed, some had succeeded. But all of them had carried humanity's hope into the darkness. And now, 1600 years later, humanity was bringing that hope back home. The exploration of the Morning Star would take weeks. The recovery of its data would take months. The political battles over what to do with the information would take years. But Day-One and Hana had time. They had support. And they had 11 more ships to find. The first wave had never ended. It had just been waiting for someone to remember. And now, someone had. As the New Horizon docked with the Morning Star, Day-One looked at Hana and smiled. You know, I bought this ship at an empty auction too. Same seller who had the Eternal Horizon. Hana's eyes widened. You're joking. Nope, Day-One said. Paid everything I had, 75 credits. You're telling me you've bought 2 first-wave ships for less than 1,000 credits total? Technically, yes. Hana started laughing. She laughed until tears ran down her face. That's the most human thing I've ever heard. We spend billions of credits on new technology. And you find priceless historical ships for pocket change. That's humanity for you, Day-One said. We're good at finding value where others see junk. They stepped through the airlock together. The Morning Star waited in the darkness, another chapter of humanity's story, ready to be told. And in the stars above, countless other stories waited to be found.